is a presentation of Sertoba Media and Comey Media, Incorporated.
Welcome, one and all. It's that time again. We're back for Total Football Talk Extra. I am your co-host, Drew Willingham, along with the man who gets his own special introduction. Welcome back, Mr. Ryan McCarthy with the air guitar as we are back for Extra. Total Football Talk. The fifth episode is here, everyone. We have CFL action to discuss today. We got four games to review, and then as well as 4 games to preview that start off tonight. Actually, my apologies. We have 3 games this week. So in week 18, but 4 games to review. Had one game that was an absolute beatdown, and especially a couple games that were pretty close. But let's go ahead and start this off with the first of those 4 matchups and take this into the Friday night games. And here for the Friday night games, let's start it off with the Edmonton Elks traveling to Winnipeg to take on the Blue Bombers. And the Blue Bombers get their 7th straight win after what they were doing to start the year. You know, I was throwing some shade at these dudes. You know, they were not playing all that great to start the season out, but you know, they've turned things around, now getting to a 9-6 record, knocking the Elks down to a 5-10 record. You got to look at what McLeod Bethel Thompson was doing over there for the Elks. He did do solid, but just couldn't put enough numbers up on the board for his team to catch Winnipeg as they were on fire to start out from the gate. Zach Collaros probably had his best game of the season, in my opinion. Throws for 6 touchdowns, over 400 passing yards, 432 mother-fathering passing yards, okay? 21 of 26, only 5 incompletions on the day. When you add that along with Brady Oliveira's 16 carries for 86 yards, didn't get the ball in the end zone, but don't worry about it. Zach Collaros made up for that with 6 passing touchdowns. You know, on top of that, Kenny Lawler, the top wideout for the team on the day. Kenny puts up 8 receptions for 130 yards, along with 2 touchdowns. Right behind him, Nick Dembski, who's also been a big piece of the 7th straight game victory streak there, on 4 receptions for 117 yards and 2 touchdowns as well. Carrick Wheatfall adds another 3 receptions for 80 yards and a touchdown. And Brady Oliveira, not only did he do well on the ground, but he did do well in the receiving game as well, because he had 1 reception for 33 yards and got a touchdown in that catch. Now, their defense, they did put up they did just put up just 1 sack. A little quiet on the day compared to how they had been during the previous 6 straight wins of their 7-game streak. Didn't force any turnovers, but that 1 sack did help out, and they did hold the other team to only 27 points. Now, with their offense putting up 55, we got to look at the other side when it comes to the Elks offense. McLeod Bethel Thompson wasn't horrible. We can't really put this on the quarterback for not winning, because he was 19 of 34. He wasn't really consistent with his completions, but he did have 223 passing yards with 3 touchdowns. I'd say the highlight for the Elks was Justin Rankin here. You got to look at 14 carries for 109 yards. Did it help establish the run? Didn't establish it enough as he couldn't get the ball in the end zone, and there were no rushing touchdowns for this team. Now, with the 3 passing touchdowns by McLeod Bethel Thompson, one goes to Geno Lewis, who had 5 receptions for 72 yards. The other goes to Dylan Mitchell, who had 3 receptions for 54 yards. And the last touchdown pass goes to Tevin Jones, who had 4 receptions for 36 yards. This defense as well only put up 1 sack on the day. I'd say both teams struggled in the defensive department, but I would say this team did even worse because they gave up 55 points. When you look at this as a whole, between offense, defense, and special teams, what are your overall thoughts when looking back on this Friday night game between these two teams?
Well, I guess you could say that the Elkamos' chances of making the playoffs are the same as Bambi's mom surviving the first couple scenes in Bambi. It's bad. It was look
burn, animal burn.
Yes, it's true though. It's true. I mean, the truth does hurt like a burn. Look, I was watching this game after we recorded last week, our Total Football Talk Extra edition. I grabbed some dinner. I sat down, watched some. It was on CBS Sports Network, so got a chance to watch it on my television. And before I could blink, it's 17-0. It's 17-0 in the first quarter. It's 34-6 at the half.
This was the game you were hitting me up during.
Yes,
because I was at work. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah. I'm texting you. I sent you a message. I'm like, it's 17-0 it's not even the end of the first quarter yet. So this game got away from the Elkamos very, very quickly. And as I noted last week, I said look, Winnipeg's on a hot streak. They're playing at home. They usually play very well at home. And they battle not only the Bombers, but they also had to battle the crowd. That's a very tough combination to beat, especially if it's against a team on a heater that the Bombers are. It's very similar to what Montreal went through last year. Montreal won their last 7 games of the year to end out the year. Then they wound up winning all the way through to the Grey Cup. So in very similar fashion, yes, they're doing kind of the same thing, even without some of their biggest stars. I mean, Dalton Schoen went down early in the season. Adam Big Hill got injured in the I believe it was the Banjo Bowl he was injured in, and he's not coming back for the rest of the season. They're losing some of their biggest stars, but they're still winning games. And I was kind of worried. I wasn't so much worried, but I was concerned about Zach Collaros. I don't have to be concerned about him anymore, especially with the effort he put in this game. As you mentioned, 432 yards passing. He only had 5 incompletions. A very accurate day, very efficient day, 6 touchdowns. And I was trying to nominate Brady Oliveira's touchdown in the first quarter on the catch and run. I was trying to send it to Kyle Brandt of Good Morning Football as the angry run of the weekend. Unfortunately, it didn't come in. I don't know why. But yeah, this game, Edmonton was overmatched early. Edmonton was overmatched often. And here's the biggest statistic of the night. It's kind of standing out in my mind, all right? If you look at the team stats, Winnipeg on second down, because this is a 3-down league, so you only get 3 chances for a first down, unlike in the NFL where you get 4 chances. Winnipeg went 16 of 22 on second down. That's it's a rating of 72.7%. So on second down, they're converting 73% of their second downs. While Edmonton only converted 10 of 25, it's 40%. So that was a huge and don't forget too, all those first downs or the second down conversions came in the first half. You're up 34-6 at the half. You're going to have a good day in the CFL. Although, anything can happen in the CFL. We'll find out as we'll find out in the next Friday game. But yeah, this game showed that Winnipeg is on a tear, and unfortunately, I think unless some weird things happen over the next 4 weeks. There you go. There's Drew. Like Drew went all 1970s on me for a second.
And some special effects.
There we go. So if Edmonton needs to win out to have a chance, to have a shot, there's like a minuscule shot of making the playoffs. And they need to have either BC or Saskatchewan lose out. I don't see Saskatchewan losing out. BC, we'll talk about them momentarily. They're in a world of trouble right now. So Edmonton, they have a bit of a road ahead of them. And this game, the last two games when they were, and this one thing I hate about buys is that you lose all sorts of momentum. There's all sorts of momentum. They had won 5 of their last 7 games beforehand, and now they're on a 2-game losing streak at the worst time of the season, when it's coming towards the end. You're trying to vie for a playoff spot, and unfortunately, you drop one to a really good team, a team that's on a heater right now, and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, who are trying to get themselves. They clinched the playoff berth, and I believe if they win this weekend, they clinch home field in the West Division Final.
So, how far off do you think the Elkamos are for contending next year, based on what we've seen so far this year? Because we already know they're out of it, right? I mean, based on what we've seen so far. Do you think they have a chance? Are they a piece or two away from turning things around? Can they do this with McLeod Bethel Thompson, or are they going to have to completely revamp this entire team from all 3 phases?
No. This is a team that has come together. They went through some adversity look, they started 0 for the year. They started 0-7, and 3 of those losses could have been wins. They would have been. We'd be talking about a different scenario right now in the playoffs. If Edmonton had won those 3 games, they would be sitting at 8 and 15 games. So they'd be sitting at 8-7 right now in second place in the West, right behind Winnipeg, if they had won those 3 games. Unfortunately, they are where they are now. But I don't think this is not a situation where you blow it up. This is not a situation where you blow it up. They add some pieces in during the season. Sean Oakman coming in from Toronto. He was released from Toronto, which is very surprising because he was one of their best pass rushers last year. Released early in the season. Edmonton picks him up. He's been very, very, very helpful in their defense. So I don't think there's a reason to blow it up and start all over again. I think if you add a couple pieces here and there, you keep Jarius Jackson, you keep that coaching staff, you remove the interim tag from his coach, from the coach, he becomes the head coach. They've established themselves as a running team. If they get off to a fast start, like in 2025, this could be a team that could be in the playoffs next year. So they don't need to blow it up.
Oh, my brother, testify.
I think they like what you're saying there, Mr. McCarthy. I think they really like it when it comes to that. And you got some other people out there who might disagree, who might tell you this.
Hell to the no, to the no, 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 no. Hell no, to the no.
Well,
but in my defense, I mean, well, not in my defense, in your defense, I will say.
Let me talk to you.
Yeah.
Because it is happening.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So we shall see. I do like what they have, even though their record isn't all that great. You don't see any signs of them giving up throughout this season. They've still been fighting their way through these games, even games where they're getting blown out, where it's highly proportioned. Like, you still see them putting up a fight each and every play. So I'm with you on that. I think they're a few pieces away. They kind of remind me of what the Commanders were before this year, to an extent, of the NFL, even though, and you'll find out a little bit when I do Commanders Gridiron Report after this show,
Ding.
playing catch up, bing, as we're playing catch up this week. But you'll see, even I'm not even drinking the Kool-Aid when it comes to that. We're only 4 weeks in, right? So I still don't really give a pure judgment on that until we get to about week 8, like midway through. So now that we are past that point here for this season, and we've got 4 weeks left, I will sit here and say they have a chance next year, but they are going to have to bring in some new pieces. But I do agree with you. They're not going to have to completely blow this thing up and do anything completely different to where they have a completely different dynamic. They keep the same coaching staff because They're putting up a fight every single week, and that's what you like to see. It's those people and those players who are on teams like in the NFL with the Commanders, who were absolutely trash last year and not giving up. And look at where they're at now. They still stuck with the process. Of course, they had to make some changes. It's a little bit of a different scenario there, right? Because they're at the end of a coaching tenure. And with the Elkamos, it's obvious it's not time to really completely blow it up yet. Now, if they play like this next year, after bringing in a couple more pieces, then I can see them completely blowing it up after next season. But that's neither here nor there for this discussion at this point, as we still have 3 other games that we got to get into, and we're going to go ahead and take it into our next game. And let's decide real quick if we think that this next one that was from Friday is yes, and it is, because we have to. We have to give – no, actually, you know what? I take it back, Ryan. Because you know what? Actually, we are going to save the Tiger Kitties for the game of the week. Yes. We are not going to put them up there because I knew, looking at it, that you would probably want to have them showcased in that part. So let's go ahead and take it into the Saturday game. Started off with the Ottawa Redblacks traveling to Saskatchewan to take on their former running back with his new team in the Saskatchewan Roughriders. It feels so good to be able to say this not 1, but 2 weeks in a row because of what they've done since bringing in Raquel Armstead. You look at the reel that we had from last week, even he liked it. Yeah. He clicked the like button. I was hyped because our man clicked the like button. Now, of course, he got knocked down a little bit, got a little hurt, wished him some well wishes. He ended up liking that too. Thanks, Raquel Armstead, for liking not 1, but 2 things that I said that day. And for Brian McCarthy to be a part of that as well was definitely to be great as well. When you look at this right here with what these 2 teams did, with the Redblacks, the former team, the Roughriders, the new team, on this Saturday, the Redblacks came into this game 8-5-1. The Saskatchewan Roughriders were 6-7-1 coming into this game. The Roughriders get the win at home, 29-16. Got to take a look at Trevor Harris putting up 315 passing yards on the day. He was 27-36 for passing completions to attempts, but did not get the ball in the end zone, neither in the air or on the ground. This game was purely, I believe, a defensive standout because, Thomas Bertrand Hudon put up 9 carries for 72 yards. Shout out to my man Hawk, who has that first name. But he put up 9 carries for 72 yards and a touchdown on the day. Keyshawn Johnson, not related to the former NFL player, but
damn ball anyway.
Yes. Keyshawn Johnson, 6 receptions for 101 yards, along with Dell Duncan Busby, had 7 receptions for 92 yards, on the day as well. The reason why I say this was mainly a defensive contest / special teams is you got to take a look at the fact that the Roughriders defense, they put up 2 sacks on the day. But that's not the big stat line. They had 3 interceptions, Ryan. 3 interceptions, and those 3 interceptions set them up to be in scoring position, if not scoring altogether, because of the way that this game went when it came to the turnovers. Putting up those type of turnovers were awesome, but the big stat line on the day was the kicker, Brett Lowther. Put up 7 field goals. He was 7 of 7. Reminds me of what the Washington Commies kicker did in the NFL not that long ago, because he put up 7 field goals on the day, long of a 41, but scored 21 of those 29 points. The rest coming off of one of those turnovers that were one of those interceptions by the defense to give the Saskatchewan Roughriders 29 points. Now, when we look over at the Redblacks side, Jeremiah Masoli definitely has been struggling for this team at quarterback the past few weeks. 278 passing yards, has a touchdown on the day, but also throws those 3 interceptions that we were talking about, the defense of the Roughriders securing in that game. Kalen LeBourne, who's been taken over for the previous running back that I talked about going over to the Roughriders, that being Raquel Armstead, puts up 8 carries for 42 yards on the day. Receiving wise, Justin Hardy still a highlight for the Redblacks. 5 receptions for 111 yards on the day as well. Khalil Pimpleton catches the only receiving touchdown in the entire game between both teams. He had 6 receptions for 45 yards and that lone touchdown. The defense for the Redblacks had 3 sacks on the day, but did not haul in any interceptions or force any turnovers. Their kicker, Lewis Board, put up 3 field goals with a long of 53 yards. Now, the stat line that I want to look at is our guy who got banged up the week before, Raquel Armstead, only put up 10 carries for 32 yards on the day, still dealing with some lingering effects from all the work that they got out of him the week before. Can this team, the Roughriders, now that they're in second place, they're not but 2 games behind the Blue Bombers, who just secured a playoff spot with what they did in the game we just talked about. Can the Roughriders hold on to the second spot in the West Division to make it to this Final Four of the league and contend for the Grey Cup this year? Do you see this really happening? Is this a real thought we can really look forward to?
Yeah, I can see them hosting a playoff game. They've got a good chance this week. They're playing Calgary and they're playing Calgary. They're playing Edmonton this week, and I believe they're favored in the game. So their chances are good. They're reestablishing the run. I've been banging on that drum over the last throughout their losing streak. I said they need to establish the run. Unfortunately, with AJ Willett being on the sideline, I believe he's going to miss one more game. I misspoke last week. I thought he was out for the season. His stint is coming to an end on the 6-game IR. It's coming to an end. He was back at practice this week. So good news for the Roughriders. You should probably have him back for the playoffs. But they've really established the running game. And look at that fist bump. Look at that fist pump by our friend Drew Willingham. There you go. He's happy. He's ready. He's ready to go. He's got Thor coming back. But yeah, Raquel Armstead, unfortunately, he got hurt in the game, so they had to bring in one Thomas Bertrand Houdon from Quebec by way of Delaware State. He filled it in very nicely. Had quite a few runs. I see Drew pointing there. Had himself 9 rushes, 72 yards, and a touchdown, averaged 8 yards per run. So he came in and filled in nicely in place of Raquel Armstead, our guy. And Trevor Harrison didn't have to do much in terms of passing. Yeah, he still threw for over 300 yards, but they were having trouble getting it in the end zone, which is where Brett Fathering Lauder came in and booted 7 of 7 field goals for the Roughriders, and that one touchdown being of Bertrand Houdon from Delaware State. So yeah, I think this team they continue to establish the run, play good defense. They played great defense last week. Picking off Jeremiah Masoli 3 times. That's pretty good. I mean, and 2 sacks. So hey, good 2 sacks, and you also kept the second down chances to a minimum for the Redblacks. They only converted 6 of 17 second downs, roughly 41% of the times. But this was a defensive matchup. And the one thing that the Redblacks are going to be missing, they're going to be missing Darius Pickett, who is the heart and soul of that defense. He's out for the season with an injury, so he'll be missed. But they're still playing good defense. They held Saskatchewan to, it says 29 points, but yeah, 7 of. But you minimize the damage with field goals. So you're doing a good job there and not allowing touchdowns. So to get back to your question about the Roughriders, yeah, I think they have a good chance to clinch at least home field for the first round. If I'm looking at the standings, they're only 3 points behind Winnipeg. So if they can pull off if they can win out the rest of the season. And if Winnipeg loses a couple games, it's going to come down to the season series. Unfortunately, Winnipeg won the season series 2-1. So, but it's points. It's not record that matters. It's points that matter. And Saskatchewan, they tied Ottawa. This is the rematch of that tie. from back in I think August, if I remember correctly. So, yeah, this team has a chance between their defense stepping up, and their offense reestablishing the run game. I think this team has a chance to not only clinch a playoff spot, they could clinch first place if things go right for them, and they could earn themselves a Grey Cup berth. You never know in this league. This season's been chaos.
Hey,
this has been chaos.
How'd you say the running back's name again? Bertrand Grey Poupon?
So, it's Thomas Bertrand Houdon. It's a hyphenated last name. He's from Mont Saint Hilaire, Quebec.
I'm about to ask my man Hawk if that's how he says his name, because the middle name of that guy is his name. I'm about to say, is your name Bertrand Grey Poupon?
Bertrand.
Bertrand. But
it's a hyphenated last name, so
I like it.
Yeah,
I like it. It's a pretty cool name. But yeah, Hawk, if you're in the comments out there, or I'm gonna turn this into a reel and send it to you later, because you gotta like that Grey Poupon part on the end of it. All right, mixing mustard, if it really is mustard, and football all in one. That's what we're doing today on this Friday. Now,
girls.
But yes, with this game, definitely was wild. But to see them still have some type of depth at the running back game, because we look at what Armstead did the previous game and went off, right? We were just talking about it last week. Now, fast forward to this week, he was still within the game plan, but had 15 less carries and a sizable difference in regression in yards. And to have somebody else step up, had that not happened, had Grey Poupon not stepped up, this would not have happened in this game. They would have lost, and it would have been a very, very ugly game, probably like a 16-12 game or something like that. Like nothing to be really entertaining, because all they would have done was kick field goals. That would have been it. So, but the defense stepped up. Grey Poupon stepped up, and a lot of things went their way when it came to that. Now, before we go any further, we do have to look at our comment section, because we are live. Thank you to those of you who are commenting and participating here in the chat. Keep them coming. As our man Sick Diggy is here, says it's time to get extra lively and extra wild with TFT XTRA, as there was not one, not two, but 3 extras, so you can say XXX the correct way, not the inappropriate way, when you can include Grey Poupon, okay? Because we don't want to think of the other way and what they would do with the Grey Poupon while we're talking about football. That's sick. Diggy for you. Thank you guys for bringing in the comments. We're greatly appreciated. To all of that, I say yeet as professional wrestling news. Someone that you and I, we like watching the Bloodline. We like the OTC. And what we're going to see hopefully tonight is we got Bad Blood tomorrow, which I'm so glad that I actually am not on call this weekend, so I can actually check that out and not have to worry about going back and forth. But yes, we have Bad Blood tomorrow. We got SmackDown tonight. Let's go a little off the rails for a second. We got a little time there, Ryan McCarthy. Talk about Yeet. What were your thoughts when Jey Uso won the Intercontinental Championship last week from Braun Breaker?
I thought it was a little too soon for Braun Breaker to drop the IC title, but good for Jey. Good for Jey. He's been on the top roster for what, 10 years now?
14. Okay,
that's wrong. 14 years. And he's won his share of tag titles, and now he's gone solo. But he's good for him. Good for him getting his first solo title. It's awesome.
I think it's going to be wild if, and we'll go back to football in a second, but with Roman and Cody teaming up tomorrow, we'll stay within the bloodline. It's different now. Jay's in the bloodline, but he's out of it solo, like you said. Before we get to that, though, I'm very happy that he got it. I feel like they had to make this move, because if not, they were going to be at risk for losing the crowd being behind Jay, because look at how much they've been behind him since he left the bloodline. And it's only grown with the things he's done. He's elevated himself, and they've elevated him too within WWE, something that would have not have happened if the previous ownership was there, he would have completely ignored it and this whole thing would have died. So very happy for Jake, because there were multiple opportunities in the past where they could have done this for him and he could be an even bigger star now. So it's a good thing they did it before it was too late. One more thing with the bloodline before we get back to football. I have a prediction, and because you are a wrestling fan, along with Sick Diggy, who made this comment, and some other people who will probably see this, I think Cody turns heel tomorrow. Turns on Roman Reigns.
I think they should do it. It needs to be organic. I think it's starting to happen.
Yeah.
I think they've already planted the seeds here and there.
Because they're already been planting the seeds for a minute for Roman to come back and be face.
Yep.
And if they want their storyline to continue some way, somehow, the only way they're going to do it is if they do a double turn.
Yep.
But I mean, even though the face turn's already pretty much been done for Roman, it would be officially a double turn if this happens.
And Cody turns his hair back to his natural color.
There you go. You could, because I mean, this could be a result of him just being tired of dealing with the bloodline. And that could be a great way to spin off of it. But guys, we could turn the rest of this hour show into wrestling if we really wanted to, but we are here to talk Total Football Talk today. Thank you, Sick Diggy, for dropping the yeet. So we could take a minute to talk a little pro wrestling. He also says, other than their CFL name, there's plenty of things that folks in Saskatchewan like rough. Oh,
I don't have a comment. I have no comment.
That is not football appropriate there, Sick.
That is not football appropriate.
I did read it because I feel like Eli Manning. If you watch the Eli Manning, forget what the show was, but they had Baker Mayfield dress up with the long hair, being a fan. You got to watch it. It's on Amazon Prime. I forget what it's called, but he dresses up as a fan and goes on like a tour of the Buccaneers facility. His name's Gus Swayze. He's got a bum knee and everything. But then he goes out there and the people who are leading the tour are like, if anybody can complete a 50-yard pass, you'll get autographs from these three players right here. Baker goes out there as Gus Swayze, bum knee and all of a sudden he's limping and he just throws a 50-yard dart. Everybody gets signed football. Everybody wins. If you have Amazon Prime, go back and watch that. I think it just recently dropped. I watched it at work yesterday while I was eating some Little Caesars Detroit style deep dish pizza. Don't hate.
Ooh.
Yeah. So Dante says, what's up, guys? Dante is in the house, our guy here for Total Football Talk earlier this week and Total Football Talk Extra. And hopefully we might even see him in the comments later tonight after 7 o'clock when we have Commander's Gridiron Report tonight. So we shall see. He also says, I don't mind mixing it up with football and wrestling. And my man, there it is, because we got wrestling tomorrow. Might have to chop it up because I'll even say it here today since it is official now. The time is not official, but on October 19th, Sertoba Media will be bringing a new show. It will not be produced by me because I don't have any more time to produce anything else right now. Okay. But we have a new team member. Somebody that I have been talking to behind the scenes, encouraging him to come back to the game. Somebody I have worked with in the past, and he knows a lot of wrestling, and it's going to be a wrestling show every Saturday. Right now, we're looking at probably about noon time, but the time may be tweaked a little bit, but it's definitely Saturday because Saturday is the day where we have completely open for anybody to do anything on our channels. So coming to Sertoba Media, and very soon, the name of the person will be announced in the show, but it'll be 2 weeks from tomorrow is when the first show will be debuted.
And you see plenty of wrestlers who played football. Like right now, Braun Breaker, he played football at Kennesaw State. He was a running back, I believe, and his brother is currently on the same roster at Kennesaw State. Jay and Jimmy both played football. I believe Solo played football. Trying to remember who else played football. Currently, Roman. That's right, Roman Reigns.
Cody was an amateur wrestler.
He played in the CFL.
He did
with the Edmonton Eskimos.
The Eskimos at the time, yeah. I mean, even Dwayne played. You know, he was
tried out for the Calgary Stampeders. Speaks very highly of former coach Wally Buono. What legendary Wally Buono.
And that's something he's got on Dwayne. He can say, Dwayne, you sucked. I actually got playing time. And had more than $7. Manage my money better. No, I'm just kidding. But and Six says fair enough for myself. Speaking of wearing a disguise, who remembers a few NBA players dressed as senior citizens at a local basketball court?
That's where we got Uncle Drew.
Yes, I was about to say Uncle Drew. Yes,
Mhm.
spearheaded that thing. And Roman at Georgia Tech. Yes,
Yep.
it's where they had the recent what is that thing called? Not a
Vignette.
montage. Vignette.
Vignette.
Yes. I knew it started with a V. I just couldn't remember what it was called a second. But Cody being from Georgia, big in Georgia, the Rhodes family and everything. And Roman, of course, going to Georgia Tech and being huge.
Yes.
Great place to have that vignette filmed at. And, of
I've
course,
actually-
the Rocket Miami.
Yeah, I actually went to that stadium. It's a really nice Bobby Dodd Stadium. I went for not for a football game, but for a soccer match back in 2017. It's a nice stadium.
Speaking of stadiums, I don't know if I told you. I don't know if this was decided before or afterwards. My man, Funk Daddy's in the house. Yes, I got to get up with him this weekend. We're both members of this club called the Eagles Club. It's pretty cool little spot. Gotta go have a cold one with my man. It's been a while. I'm watching football now that I have the weekend. Shh, not saying the rest because I'll jinx myself. But yes, but from the 804, keeping it real. My man, that's what I'm talking about. I'm gonna give him a call after this show. Maybe after the Commander's Gridiron Report. Yeah, I'm gonna call him. Anyway, back to football. When it comes to right here and now, when it comes to this, I had news. I'm not sure if I told you last week. I'm not sure if it was last week or this week that it was decided because my weeks were running into each other. But I'm going to FedEx on the 27th.
Yes, I mentioned that. Yes,
we did. Okay, so yes,
it was last week's program, I believe.
Yes, looking forward to the inside information and video stuff that we'll be able to share with each other the following week afterwards. So the first week in November, election week, and if all goes according to plan, I'll be on vacation that entire week after that game. So fingers crossed for me, people, as we have football and vacation all wrapped up into one. So let's go ahead and take it back into football, talk a little bit more about the next game that we have for this Saturday slate. The button didn't do anything. Come on, technology. Why are you failing us, bruh? Come on now. Come on now.
Bruh.
Yeah. Throw it out there. You like how the was thrown into there. There it is. But yes, the other Saturday game that we have to talk about, the Montreal Alouettes traveling to Toronto to take on the Argonauts. The Montreal Alouettes came into this game 11-2-1. The Argonauts were 7-7, just at 500. The Argonauts said, "Not in our house," and got the dub as they won 37-31 in this game last Saturday. Yeah, take a look at what Chad Kelly did. Not really anything to be impressed about when it came to the quarterback stats. 19-30 for 287 yards and an interception. Now, Kadeem Carey was what was the big part of their rushing attack. 13 carries for 90 yards on the day and 1 rushing touchdown. Deontay McMahon, not related to the one who was in that Netflix documentary series recently, but he has the same last name, put up 5 carries for 67 yards and 1 touchdown. Mekhi Polk put up 5 receptions for 103 yards in the air as the receiver. And their defense was pretty lackluster on the day. They only had 1 sack, but they did have 1 interception by Tyshawn Blackburn. I'd say the biggest part of the production for this team came from a man who I've been butchering his name all year long. Ryan McCarthy completely butchered this man's name. His name's Liam, okay? A name that I can get correct. But his last motherfather name, Honolulu, whatever it is, I just can't get it right. And he wasn't cool like Raquel Armstead and accepted the tag like Raquel Armstead and even liked it. So, Liam, you and I have a beef, bruh. Okay? We have a beef. Liam, when you accept that tag and you click that like button, we'll be back on the right page right here and now. I'm still going to call you Liam. All right? Now, back to this. When it comes to what he did, he put up 8 field goals on the day. It was perfect. 8 of 8 for field goals in this game. Besides that, Toronto, pretty lackluster production throughout. I mean, they did put up 37 points, but it came off of the miscues from the Alouettes as they were just not gelling like they had been in the previous 11 wins that they've gotten so far this year. Cody Fajardo got 225 yards, 2 touchdowns, but did throw the 1 interception that really cost them in this game. 20 of 29 for his completions of attempts, and he did put up 4 carries for 22 yards on the day. Walter Fletcher, when he produces good numbers for the team, they generally win. That's where a lot of their wins have come from, their double-digit wins, when he has 75 to 80-plus yards in a game. He only put up 44 yards in this game and only 8 carries. Things were definitely split between him and Dominique Davis, and Davis put up 4 carries for 2 yards and did have the only rushing touchdown on the day. We have to take a look at the one who caught one of the two touchdowns for this team, Kyle Spiker, who put up 3 catches, but for 99 yards, averaging 33 yards per catch, and caught one of the 2 touchdown passes by Cody Fajardo. Walter Fletcher, even though he was quiet on the ground, did put up a few bits of production as a receiver, as he had 2 receptions for 9 yards, and the other of those 2 touchdowns thrown by Cody Fajardo. When you look at that, when you look at this defense and what they did, they put up not one, but 2 sacks on the day. They also had 1 interception by Deontay Ruffin, who's actually racked up quite a bit of interceptions this year for this Alouettes defense. The kicker, Jose Maltos, missed the 1 field goal he had the opportunity to make, even though that only would have made a difference of this game being 37-34 instead of 37-31. Do we have to look at this game as more of a failure on Fajardo, on the rushing attack, on the field goal kicker? Because they did have a punt return touchdown. The kicker, the returner, James Letcher Jr., had 3 returns for 119 yards and a touchdown. What was the biggest failing point for the Alouettes and why they couldn't secure their 12th win of the season this past weekend?
Missed opportunities. A lot of it was just missed opportunities. Run it with the running game. They've been having a lot of trouble with establishing the running game this year. A lot of their offensive attack is predicated on the pass. You got Jason Moss and arguably the greatest quarterback in the CFL history, Anthony Calvillo, is your offensive coordinator / quarterback coach. So it's going to be a passing. It's going to be a passing system. But unlike last year when they had William Stanback in the backfield and seasons prior to, they're not dependent on a running back. And a lot of that time, if you have no running attack, you can't convert. If you get passing first down, get 8-9 yards, you can't convert second down. And they had trouble doing that all game long. 4 of 16 on second down, that's atrocious. I mean, Toronto converted about a little over half there for second downs. But also don't forget, look at the statistics. Rushing yards they couldn't stop the run. The Alouettes could not stop the run. They're usually really good at that. 230. They surrendered 234 yards rushing. Toronto was balanced in this game. Their attack was balanced. They had 32 passing plays, 30 rushing plays, and they went over 200 yards for both. So they had over 500 yards this game. And this Montreal defense is not giving them 500. Doesn't give up 500 yards in a game often at all, or if at all. So, I mean, they bent, but they didn't break. However, Saturday was the day of the kicker. Brett Lothar, 7 field goals. Liam Hailer-Alahu, 8 for 8, set a franchise record for field goals in a game with 24 points, 8 for 8. He accounted for 24. Like how long way to go to a hairball. Accounting for 24 of the 37 points. So this was just it's both missed opportunities and just an atrocious effort on defense. They couldn't stop the run. Chad Kelly threw for 293 yards. And they also had the ball. Toronto had the ball for over 35 minutes in possession time. So when you don't have the ball, you're not gonna do a whole lot with it. So missed chances, bad defense. I'm hoping they clean it up at least before the playoffs. Montreal, they still own. Before the game, Ottawa lost. They had earned the number 1 spot in the East, so they don't have to do any more than they've already done. They've already secured the East final. They had to bye in the first round, so they'll have the East final at Percival Molson Stadium in November. But this is just a bad effort, and I see a team that's tired. I see a team that is just they're not putting their best effort in, and they're doing it at the wrong time. So unless they clean it up, it might be scary. It might be scary time for Montreal. If you're a Montreal Alouettes fan, myself.
That's scary, huh? Think it's gonna be that bad?
Scary.
So we gotta look at some things real quick. You know, we gotta look at the fact of the standings here. Alouettes, I mean, they already secured a playoff spot, right? They're already going
home field. Yep.
The home field. They don't have to worry about that. But we've seen teams that have secured and locked things up early in multiple leagues, not just CFL or NFL, arena football, even college. If you lock up a playoff spot, and especially home field advantage very early on, you kind of start taking your foot off the gas a little bit. And sometimes, whether you want to acknowledge it or not, and sometimes it's hard to get the foot adjustment back on the pedal in order to get back to where you once were, driving that bus through everything. So that's what we could be starting to witness unfold in front of our eyes. The good news is they still have 4 weeks to figure this out, and they play in 3 out of the last 4 weeks. So you should be able to figure this out within that time frame.
Yeah.
If
and they're on a bye this week too.
Yeah. So you get the automatic bye now. And then you still have 3 weeks to figure it out once you come back after you're well rested. So hopefully for the Alouettes, they can get things turned around and not play like absolute dumpster Pelicans, because this team is too good to be riddled with this.
Diabetes.
And that is how they're playing like right now in this past week. Now, let's see what we got out here in the comments. Dustin is here. Dustin has been commenting out here in the comments where I clicked the button. There it is. He says, Ryan McCarthy, Iron Man of podcasting, the Cal Ripken Jr. of podcast.
High compliment. I don't have the goatee like Tony Stark though. I used to have one but I said a little full beard.
Don't have a goatee. You are not an asshole. Okay, we do not need you having a goatee. All right, you are too damn nice to be having a goatee. All right, when you rock a goatee, most of the time, that's just what the whole old wives' tale is. Okay, that's what people think.
We gotta clip that.
Yes. We're gonna clip it. Yes, most people who have the goatees, they just looked at it as assholes. So they just say how it is. But now, shout out to you, Drew Willingham, one of the best in the game. Well, thank you, sir. If I wasn't having a bad day, a hair day, I would take my hat off, because I'll take my hat off to you, because I haven't had a haircut in 4 months. For people like Brian out there and others, FYI, I think it's coming back. So, not 3.5 years long, but just for people, a little bit of short-term hair growing. There it is. But yeah, shout out to Dustin. Had to give you a shout out as I saw you commenting out here, because I very rarely go live on Facebook anymore. We'll talk about that another time. Sick Dicky says Goldberg at Georgia, Ron Simmons at FSU, Titus O'Neil at Florida, JBL at Christian. Never heard of that place. Brian Pillman at Miami of Ohio, etc. Sick Diggy is literally like the Tony Reale, our stats guy out here for our networks. It's a good friend.
I do have a correction. JBL played at Abilene Christian. Adelaide is in Australia, mate.
Oh, I
think he played for the San Antonio Riders in the World League of American Football back in the day. I think I have his card somewhere.
Okay, business card.
No,
or like player card.
A player card.
Okay, it'd be like, hey, I played this college. Here you go. Let me have some time. And they do some business there. Yeah, what's up, bro? No, I'm just kidding. But anyway, you need a Homer Simpson dope button for such occasions. Or I could just do it. Dow! Or it's probably not even anywhere close to it. It absolutely sucked, but I tried. Good points for trying. Jim, the Anvil Neidhart, played football at UCLA. Steve Mongo McMichael at Texas. And Mike Rotunda wrestled and played at Syracuse.
Yeah, Mike Rotunda, the father of one
Bray
Wyndham
Wyatt.
Rotunda. And who became Bray Wyatt. There he is.
I got the Bray Wyatt in my hands. I got the Bray Wyatt in my hands. All right. But when it comes to that, shout out to Sick Diggy again for dropping the dimes. There's a line from Ocean's 11 that comes to mind regarding Montreal. Guys like us don't change, Saul. We either sharp or we get sloppy. Rusty to Saul.
Got to tell that to Montreal Alouettes. During the bye week, got to figure it out.
As always. I'll get my Kiwi twang on later at Brian McCarthy.
Ooh, get a little New Zealand action here.
There it is. With that being said, we've gone through the first 3 games in review. It's time to take it to the game of the week. And I don't have that button. Still, I forgot to add it. So we're just going to go bing and take it right to the game of the week. And with that being said, we go back. Kitty's there. I thought I heard
Kitty's here. You heard him. Now he's passing by.
Oh, man, I was zooming out so we can say what's up to the kitty.
Come here, buddy. Well, he is a tiger kitty. Come here.
There he is. He's saying, what's up? What's up, kitty? Let's zoom back in on the kitty. There he is. He's like, I'm going to sniff the microphone. This smells like my human. He took the paw and he said,
I'm out of here.
Down.
He's like, I'm out of here. Got the orange cat energy. OCE.
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 I like that. That is awesome. The OCE.
He's a good kid.
That's what I'm talking about. You got to have a good one every now and then. Now, I just heard him talking again. He's like,
trying to get my attention.
Yeah, he's like, man, I got some things to say in that microphone. Then you bring him up there, and he doesn't say anything until he's on the floor. But the cat is so loud that you can hear him from the floor talking up. Not only does he have OCE, but he has a podcaster's voice.
He does.
Yeah,
just like his human.
Shout out to the king. Now, when it comes to the game of the week, when we look back to last week, last Friday, was the one that you got all giddy when I was saying the name of the team earlier, especially with it was like perfect timing. We're at game of the week. Tiger Cat comes running on through with OCE, getting us ready to get this thing started because the Tiger Kitties traveled to BC, British Columbia, to take on the BC Lions. The BC Lions were 7-7 coming into this game. The Tiger Kitties were 5-9. And they have a player on their team who's been wearing overalls for several weeks, and they have been.
They're not overalls. They're not
coveralls.
They're boveralls.
Boveralls. I'll let you get more into that here in a second when you give your take. Since I was setting it up so you can spike it over the net like we're playing volleyball. But looking at this right here, the streak they're on since the wardrobe change. All right. This team comes into British Columbia. They win 32-29. The Tiger Cats are now 6-9 on the season and have an opportunity to finish at 500 before the season ends. They have an opportunity. Close, but not. It doesn't mean they're going to get it. They have a very, very close opportunity to do this. Will they mother fathering do it? We shall see. Now, right here, BC Lions fall to 7-8. This game was pretty close because it went into overtime. And the Tiger Kitties put up 6 points to the Lions 3 in overtime to win 32-29. You got to look at the Tiger Kitties. Bo Levi Mitchell putting up 315 yards in the air on the day, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. He also adds 1 carry for 3 yards. Not that substantial, but it did get him to 318 total yards overall. Greg Bell, who has been a feature back for this Tiger Kitties team, he does enough. But it wasn't like Greg Bell numbers what we've been seeing throughout this winning streak because he put up 7 carries for 36 yards, but he did get in the end zone with a touchdown. Their other running back, his name is what I'm going to pronounce it as because I don't know how to say it. Google this team, Google the results, and you will see exactly the dilemma that I'm currently in. But that guy right there put up 6 carries, 15 yards, and 1 touchdown. Not any great numbers on the day, but he did put a touchdown in the end zone to get them to 2 rushing touchdowns on the day, along with Bo Levi Mitchell's 2 passing touchdowns for 28 of these 32 points. Now, Keandre Smith.
Uh-oh. Did I freeze or did Drew freeze? All right. Well, let me try to finish up where Drew left off. On the Tiger Kitty side,
8 receptions for 92 yards and a receiving touchdown. And can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Yes, you froze a little bit.
What in the father was going on Xfinity Internet? I paid for you, okay? I paid for a lot of things technology-wise, and you let me down. I think I was in the middle of butchering a name when this happened, okay?
Nope, you got that part.
Brendan O'Leary Orange?
No, the running back for the
Tiger
Cats,
or is it orange?
Ante Milanovic Litre. He's still freezing. Oop. All right. I'll try to finish up where Drew left off here. Brandon O'Leary Orange, 2 receptions, 25 yards, and a touchdown. For the Lions, Nathan Rourke, 22 of 36 for 264 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. But he did have 2 rushing touchdowns. William Stanback, 103 yards on the ground. Javon Katoy, 5 receptions, 81 yards, led all BC receivers. He also had Aiden Eberhardt, 2 receptions, 41 yards. Keon Hatcher, 2 receptions, 38 yards. But the story for looking at this, a lot of targets for the wide receivers, but Rourke's not connecting with them. So last week when I mentioned that Nathan Rourke was going to be the starter for this week, Drew's face he did a face palm, like, oh no, what is going on? Yes, exactly. What is going on? Yes, what in the all types of blue hell, Sick Diggy? I can't bring up your comment right now because I'm not the host. This game, I was listening to this game, and BC went up 16-0 in the first quarter, in the first half. They were up. They controlled the clock for most of the first half. They controlled everything for most of the first half. So, and then the Tiger Cats said it's time to Bo-Leave, as in Bo Levi Mitchell. Bo Levi Mitchell having a great month of September. 315 yards in this day, 34 to 40, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Also led the Tiger Cats on that game-winning drive, on the game-tying drive late in the game to get the Tiger Cats to overtime. And they went up scoring a touchdown, going up by 3, and they made a 2-point conversion with 1 minute, 1 second left in the game. And then the Lions, they go down the field, they get within field goal distance. They have a chance to actually win the game, but a pass was completed to Berryhill, caught the 4-yard line for 2 yards. They needed 4. So they went, instead of going for the touchdown, they went for the field goal. They tied the game, took it to overtime. The Lions the Lions win the toss. They get the toss. They win the coin toss. They elect to go first. They get 3 points. And then something very controversial happens in overtime. After the Lions score, Tiger Cats get the ball. Ticats go marching down the field. They go to 2nd and 4 at the BC 4-yard line. Bo Levi throws a pass towards O'Leary or Orange. It's broken up by Kent in the end zone. However, the Hamilton Tiger Cats had a challenge. Now, this is where the controversy comes in, because in overtime, I believe in overtime in the NFL, and fact check me on this, whether Dustin or Sick, if you're watching, let me know. Let me know in the comments if I'm right. In the NFL, overtime, any challenges, any reviews are booth reviews. They can't be challenged. But in this case, the CFL, you can challenge something. So they challenged defensive pass interference. It went to a booth review. It went to a review. The command center said, yep, that's pass interference. Ball at the 1-yard line, first down. And then Litre carries it in for the touchdown. Hamilton walks away with the win. Let's talk about this game. It was a tale of two halves. It was a tale of two halves. BC controlled the pace in the first half. They scored 16 points to none for Hamilton. Then Hamilton took over in the second half. They scored 26 points in the second half, including that touchdown and 2-point conversion to take the lead, to take a 3-point lead. And Drew's coming back. Hey, there he is.
I'm trying, man. I don't know what is going on with this internet. I had to do it from the phone. So we are on the phone doing this with no internet.
All right.
So what have I missed?
So I was just completing your statistical line for the BC Lions, or for the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Then I went over and summarized the BC Lions, and I talked about the game a little bit. This was a tale of two halves. BC controlled the first half. They outscored the Tiger Cats 16-0. I was actually listening to the game on TuneIn while I was getting ready to go to bed and going to bed, and just listening to the game. And then Hamilton took over in the second half, and they outscored the Lions 26-10 in that second half. And Lions tied it to take the overtime. There was some controversy in the overtime when Hamilton had the ball, in that there was a incomplete pass by Bolivia Mitchell to O'Leary Orange, and Hamilton they challenged the play for pass interference, and went to the command center in Toronto. They saw enough evidence to make it pass interference. On the next play, Litre scores, game over. So I was just noting to any viewers out there, I said I think in the NFL overtime, if there's a play that's under review, it's booth reviewed. It's not a challenge.
Yes, it goes to New York.
Yes, it goes. Okay, so I was right. It
goes in overtime. Yep. Because the same thing just happened last night with the Falcons and the Bucks when they went to overtime. But luckily, they had the rules listed on the screen in the event that it gets to that point. Yeah, so reviews go automatically to New York. It's not within the game. Because, there were several complaints back in the day about the referees determining games and overtime like that based on a call that should have gone another way, had better eyes on it from a different angle. So that's probably where all that came from.
Yeah. And this was a pretty evenly matched game in terms of time of possession, in terms of turnovers. Only one turnover in this game. Bolivia Mitchell threw an interception in the first half. But other than that, second down conversions, both teams were over 50%. Both teams were pretty even in terms of yards, in terms of net offense, 382 to 353. First downs, Hamilton had more. Hamilton and both teams had 22 first downs, whether by penalty, rush, or by passing. So this was a pretty evenly matched game, and it's definitely worthy of game of the week for sure. Now the ramifications for it going forward, Hamilton's they control their own destiny. They control their own destiny for a playoff berth. They have to win out. And Toronto has to lose at least one game in the next 4 weeks to get to the playoffs. I think they could do it, but they got a big road. They got a long road ahead. They got to play Winnipeg tonight. And
Yes.
that's a streak versus streak game right there. So, but yeah, if I'm a Hamilton Tiger Cats fan, I'm starting to believe in this team.
Okay. I like it. And, it's time for us to believe when it comes to certain things like the snowflake of the week and the dog of the week. I am hyped to hear what Ryan has to say when it comes to that. Let's go ahead and take it to our gridiron champ. See what Ryan's got to say for his dog of the week.
All right, let's go. We got trips, right? At 42, 989 on 2. Ready? Hey!
Doing this from a cell phone is absolutely interesting.
Extra.
Not sure how well you heard that. I don't know if I was coming through clear or not because I'm using these motherfathers right here in comparison to my normal microphone that I have right here. Thank you, Xfinity. Go ahead and cancel me again on my cell phone. Let's see how that goes for you. Now, when it comes to our take of the week for the grand champ, Ryan, what are your thoughts when it comes to the dog of the week?
My grand champ this week is the front seven, is the front five of the Toronto Argonauts. For the most part, they kept Chad Kelly upright, allowed him to make 32 passing attempts. Also, they paved the way for the rushing attack for 234 rushing yards. That includes 99 yards by 90 yards by Kadeem Carey and 1 touchdown, 67 yards for Deontay McMahon. And we don't give the O-line enough credit in football at all. Like I'm a guy who used to play O-line, so I get it. I'll give them full credit when they're keeping the quarterback upright, keeping their uniform white or clean. Give them full credit when they're paving the way for their running backs, and I'll criticize them when they're not doing their job. But in this case, Toronto Argonauts the front five of the Toronto Argonauts, outstanding job last week against the Montreal Alouettes, who has a great defense, and just absolutely taking them down. And also 35 minutes of possession, 35 minutes. When you're running the ball, you're going to control the clock. And when you control the clock most times, you're going to win the game. In this case, 35 minutes and 11 seconds for the Toronto Argonauts. Kept the ball on the ground, played pretty conservatively. Yeah, they scored 8 for 8 on field goals. It could have been a lot worse it could have been a lot worse for the Alouettes and a lot better for the Argos if those 8 field goals were all touchdowns or were all converted second downs. So my dog or dogs of the week, Toronto Argonauts front five, the offensive line. Awesome job. And somewhere out there is Drew. Hopefully, there he is.
I'm trying to figure this internet stuff out. So, Ryan, take it for 1 second. Cover me for 1 second. All right, please.
I gotcha. All right. As for I'm pretty sure Drew has his opinion on his dog of the week while he figures out his internet. But I want to give an honorable mention here to Thomas Bertrand Houdon of the Saskatchewan Roughriders. He didn't have impressive numbers. That's okay. He didn't have to have impressive numbers. He actually came in for Reichel Armstead, who was lost in the game. He had 200 yards the week before against Calgary. Only had, in terms of rushing yards before he went down with injury, 10 rushes for 32 yards. So he was held in check. But Thomas Bertrand Houdon filled in for him nicely. 9 rushes, 72 yards, and a touchdown. Averaged 8 yards a run. 8 yards a run. And that's going to be very important down the stretch. Again, AJ Ouellette practicing again. He'll probably be playing a game or two before the season ends. But filling in, honorable mention for my dog of the week, Thomas Bertrand-Houdon, Saskatchewan Roughriders, filling in for Raquel Armstead, 72 yards and a touchdown. Congratulations.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with Zach Collaros for my dog of the week. 6 touchdowns, over 400 passing yards. Again, my apologies to the TFT faithful and those of you watching through multiple platforms right now for my technical difficulties. I'm not sure what's going on. It's not just my modem. Throughout the whole house is affected, even the cable. So, this is something that dealing with the hurricane crap on Monday, and then this is just a bit much. This week has been pretty wild for me. So I'm just glad that we still have a way to do this. And Brian, thank you for taking over for a second. But when it comes to my dog of the week, I'm going to go with Zach Collaros because, again, this streak that this team is on, with what they've been able to accomplish throughout these 7 games that they've been on the winning streak of, 55 points, 6 touchdowns, over 400 passing yards. I mean, willing this team to a big victory. And even though the Elks could only put up 27 points and their defense of the Blue Bombers still being pretty great. Other than that, it all really rested on the shoulders of their quarterback. And I have to give it to Zach Collaros for the production that he did. And that is my choice for dog of the week. Now, with keeping it going and we talk about the good stuff, we got to now look at the negative stuff. We got to look at the snowflake of the week and see who our choices for that rest in our choices for this week.
Total Football Talk Extra.
Oh yeah, it's time for the snowflake of the week as we are rocking it through the mobile apps today. When it comes to our choice for snowflake of the week, Ryan, go ahead and give us your take.
The Edmonton Elks defense. Yikes. They have been playing lights out for quite a while, for the good most of the month of August into September. Played great. Then the bye week came, lost to the Blue Bombers at home the week before. Defense played pretty admirably well. And then scene shifts to Princess Auto Stadium, also known as the Toolbox. I was educated on this today. Princess Auto Stadium now is also known as the Toolbox in Winnipeg. And this team did not look like the same team they were the week before. Now they had the opportunity to actually go up in this game. On Winnipeg's first drive, there was a fumble that was reviewed. And this came in the first quarter. It was on the first drive of the game. And what happened was that Collaros threw a short pass to Kenny Lawler. It looked to be recovered by Edmonton and taken back almost all the way for a touchdown. However, upon further review, the play was a booth review. Runner was down by contact. So that kept going. Eventually, Collaros found Nick Dembski for a 40-yard touchdown, and the snowball effect just kept rolling downhill all the way down to 55 points, 34 points surrendered in the first half alone, and then 55 points surrendered, period. This defense just didn't show up. The offense didn't show up either, to the tune of 10 of 25 on second down. Most of those points are coming at garbage time. So it's a team effort overall. But the Edmonton Elks defense, who, like I said, been playing pretty well over the last month or two, didn't show up in this game, and it jeopardized their playoff chances. So they're my snowflake of the week, unfortunately.
I think for my choice, I'm going to go with Jeremiah Masoli, the quarterback for the Ottawa Redblacks. He gave this game away with those 3 interceptions. I mean, he did put up 270, I want to say 278 passing yards on the day. Did have a touchdown. Those 3 interceptions were key into why that team was set up for failure on that day. So, 1 interception, understandable. You see the will of the player when they're able to overcome the 1 interception and be able to, have success throughout the rest of the game. And throughout the 1 interception that this guy threw, it was just off the rails from that point forward with 2 more interceptions, along with just some missed attempts and completions, having incomplete passes as a result of that. You could just see the momentum. Whether you're watching the game from start to finish or you watch the highlights, you could just see through each passing play, through each passing quarter, minute, whatever it was, he was losing more and more confidence in himself, and the team around him appeared to be losing confidence in him as he's not even the choice as the number 1 starting quarterback for this team. I mean, he's just been thrusted in there to injuries or whatever the case may be, call-ups to other leagues. This guy is not their number 1 guy, but he's been thrust into the position, and he's obviously proving that either A, he's not ready, or B, he's not fully preparing himself enough to be ready for these games, because 1 interception is understandable. 2 is kind of depending on what your other side of your production's like. But 3 interceptions to 1 touchdown, absolutely trash, absolutely garbage, and we cannot be having that from a starting quarterback in pro football and expect to get wins. I'm going with Jeremiah Masoli as my snowflake of the week.
Yeah, you're right. 3 interceptions, especially in a pivotal game as this late in the season, it's unacceptable.
Absolutely. We do have some comments. I'm going to see how this goes mobily. Looking at some things. Sick Diggy says, "Hey, tag along, how you been?" Not sure where the expletive that came from, or are you talking about the internet that was failing me? I'm not too sure in this moment.
Oh,
I don't even know anymore.
My cat.
Oh, yeah. That's the name of the cat. Nice.
Tag along is his name. Yep.
Nice. I was going with OCE. I thought that was his real name, Orange Cat Energy.
No.
OCE.
He does have.
I'm not sure if this is on Cole's channel, on Comey Media, or on Sertoba Media. Visa, whether it's the green in your pocket, the card, or if it is the actual plastic that you have to swipe, is commenting, saying, "Is this high school football?" Unfortunately not. This is Canadian football, CFL, still pro football in the description. It could have been worse. I've listened to Jim Cornette gripe about the Spectrum.
That would be Spectrum Internet, which is what I have at here up in upstate New York. We have Spectrum. Similar issues to Comcast at times with Spectrum. So you know how it goes with cable companies. Like if you're the only game in town, you're the only game in town, unfortunately.
Well, I mean, I could switch to Verizon if I wanted to, but at the same time, to me, it's just a little frustrating because I already dealt with this based on weather issues on Monday. And because I couldn't do a 3-hour show from my phone in the service that it would use to do that, like doing it with the cellular tower. But to do like the last 30, 40 minutes of this show, I was like, I'll just bite the bullet and do it because we were already at the midway point,
Mm-hmm.
So, and Dustin says, "Oh man, Drew his take was so cold he froze." Absolutely. Oh man,
You're just giving stats. Wasn't it so much a take? It was just stats.
I was, but right before that, I did throw some shade on Xfinity, and it was right after that it completely took a dump on me because I was having the issues. I came back, and then all of a sudden I was completely gone, and the internet, the cable, it's all out. So I'm going to be making a phone call to Xfinity after the show because I'm not going to start CGR this way. There's no way. I'm going to have the patience for both. But I will get it. Even if I have to wait until 10 o'clock tonight to do Commander's Gridiron Report, I'm going to do it.
He's committed, or he needs to be committed. Either way, he's going to get it done.
One of those two is happening tonight. Yeah. Now, when it comes to that, Sick Diggy was saying, what in the all types of blue hell because of all the freezing and stuff that was going on.
Yep.
Don't ever get between a Rottweiler and his or her bone. Oh yeah,
Truth.
You're going to become the bone if you do that. You're going to be the meat.
You're going to lose a bone in one of your digits.
It is. Give Drew Willingham a minute. He's dealing with technical problems. Sick Diggy, our man, knows exactly what he's talking about. As this is not the first time Xfinity has done this, but this, I will have to say, besides the weather situation for Monday, is probably one of the worst, because usually the internet will phase, get a little fuzzy, but then I'll come back. So, yeah, Xfinity's getting a phone call. Might be switching to Verizon before too long. And if you're listening in on this, Xfinity, I'm serious this time. Did the internet tech guys take the weekend off this week? Well, I mean, you're dealing with one right here, but at the same time, I'm busy trying to talk football with my guy Ryan. I'm checked out from the IT world, so once we get off of here, I'm going to make some phone calls while also doing my own troubleshooting. But resetting the internet in the modem did not fix anything, so there's a little bit more that's going to have to be done here. I think that like something outside, like there's something outside going on. A tree could have fell on a line. Who knows? I won't know until I step outside the house, but we're going to finish this episode before I go any further with my troubleshooting or phone calls that need to be made to figure it out. You can just see the fluffy little green screen behind me, myself through technical phone distribution, and I'll even turn it this way so you can see me a little better. There it is. There we go. But actually, I have better control over the platform with it this way, so we're going to keep it this way. With that being said, thank you all for the comments and keeping things going. We do have a little bit more to go over, and we have to start that off now with going from the snowflake of the week to the 2-minute drill.
Total Football Talk Extra.
Now, with that being said, we have 3 games this week to talk about, which thankfully for my phone's reception, we have 3 instead of 4. But when we look at this right here, first of all, before we get too far, am I sounding clear? Am I sounding sounding good? Okay, cool. Because I mean, this is the first time I've used like these AirPod thingies for a show instead of my microphone. So you know how I am with the audio. I want to make sure it sounds nice and crisp. But with that being said, because we do only have about 10 minutes left of this program, the Blue Bombers tonight at 7 o'clock. We have 2 games on this Friday night. The Blue Bombers travel to Hamilton to take on the Tiger Kitties. 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern time, actually in less than 30 minutes. 1 of 2 games tonight. 2 streaks on the line. Will the Blue Bombers, who have the longer of the 2 streaks, get the win here tonight and extend their wins to 10 wins on the season? What are your thoughts?
This is a tough game to call. I'm been looking at the stat line. I'm looking at the injury report for both teams. Unfortunately, Greg Bell is out tonight. He's out with an injury tonight, and I'm trying to remember who else is out for the for Hamilton. Shamar Bridges, unfortunately, he's out for the year, which is very.
That's a big loss.
It's a big loss because he was getting ready to set the record for rookie receptions for rookies in a year. He was 7 receptions short of setting the all-time record. So those are big losses. But James Butler, he is a veteran running back. He'll fill in all right. But of course, the overalls are coming in. Bo Levi Mitchell is going to wear the overalls. On the other side of the ball for Winnipeg, Nick Dembski. Oh, there we go.
Disregard.
That's okay. Nick Dembski is a game time decision. He played really well last week. He was I believe he was the leading receiver for Winnipeg last week. So that's one less weapon that that Nick Kalaros has to throw to. But they're so well balanced in their offensive attack that they'll be all right. They'll be all right. However, there's some history here. Winnipeg has not won a regular season game in Hamilton since 2015. 9 years. Now they won a Grey Cup in 2021. That's the only time they've won in Hamilton since 2015, but they have not won a regular season game since 2015. So there's some history going on here. I like Hamilton's defense. I like the way they stepped it up last week when they were behind 16-0. Only allowed 10 more points, or 13 points in the rest for the rest of the game. But they tightened up in the second half. And I just like how Bo Levi, even though Bo Levi Mitchell didn't have his best receiver, Shamar Bridges, he can still throw it around. He's got other receivers to throw to. So, yeah, it's gonna be a close game. But I'm gonna take Hamilton. I believe in the Tiger Cats. So I'm gonna go with them for this game.
You know what I mean? With the winning streak and everything they got going on in 9 years, it's big. And, you know, I really want to see the Tiger Kitties push to trying to get to 500 before the end of this year. I think that would be cool based on the way things ended. The Blue Bombers already have secured a playoff spot with how they won last week. So regardless of how things finish out for them, they can afford to lose one of their final 3 games. So here, I'm going to side with you on this based on, one, the wardrobe change of the one player that you were talking about earlier that set you up for. And speaking of which, I missed that because that was when the internet decided to take an expletive. Did you go into that when I fell off? Were you able to take your time and discuss that?
I never got a chance to, but I will since you're here. So Bo Levi Mitchell went into Labor Day at Tim Hortons Stadium, the donut box, as they call it, the donut box. And ever since he's entered whichever stadium he's played in, since he's put on those overalls, the Tiger Cats are 4-0, and he's going to keep that. He's going to keep it alive. He's going to go into Tim Hortons Field tonight with overalls on. So I believe in the overalls.
The overalls are happening. The win is happening. I'm siding with my man McCarthy.
Hey, who's giving them the business?
Finally, I got to click the button right. Now, when it comes to the second Friday game here, the Calgary Stampeders travel to BC to take on the Lions. Stampeders coming off of a bye week from this past week, which they really needed because they had been absolutely playing like trash lately. The Lions just fell to one game under 500. Do you think the Lions can get back up to 500 with playing at home and hosting one dumpster Pelican team tonight at 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern time?
Yes, and I'll tell you why. Calgary is dead last in the CFL in rushing yards surrendered. Their rushing defense is putrid, as we saw in their last game when they surrendered 200-plus yards to Raquel Armstead in his first game as a Rough Rider. William Stanback can do it on the ground. He had 101 yards last week. He's capable of getting those tough yards. He can get chunk yards too. And that'll help Nathan Rourke settle down. Because that's what Nathan Rourke needs to do in this. They can get the run game going. That'll help Nathan Rourke be the quarterback that we all know he's capable of being. And if you can't get the job done, you got a very good second option in Vernon Adams Jr. So unless it's an absolute dud that the Lions put up, like they did a couple weeks ago against Toronto, and we still kind of don't know who they really are, given their really fast start this season, I don't see the Lions losing to Calgary. I think it's time to hit the restart button in Calgary, whether it be getting a new coach or getting a new GM. This will be the first, and then I think with this loss tonight, they'll be mathematically eliminated from the playoffs for the first time since 2004. 20 years. It's crazy.
It's wild. That's absolutely wild. And with that being said, I'm going to side with you on this too. I'm going to go with the BC Lions getting back up to 500 tonight, especially when you think about how putrid that rush defense is for the Stampeders. What they gave to Raquel Armstead, giving him probably his best game of his professional career, last week. I would have to say that it looks like the Lions can definitely get back up to 500. And from that point forward, they still have a decent season ahead of them to be able to put up some more stats and make a run still within the West Division. I'm going to go ahead and pick the BC Lions here tonight.
Who's giving them the business?
And our third of 3 games this week, Only one Saturday game tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. The Saskatchewan Roughriders travel to Edmonton to take on the Edmonton Elks, as we like to call them, the Edmonton Elkamos. Will the Roughriders show up with extra fire and get yet another dub for their third consecutive victory?
Yes. Just the way that the Edmonton Elks had that bye week and have not been crisp offensive, at least on the offensive side. Yes, they can run the ball, but their quarterback play has been wishy-washy. And they're playing a tough defense. Saskatchewan had 3 interceptions. They forced 3 turnovers last week against Jeremiah Masoli. And we know how McLeod Bethel Thompson likes to sling the rock. Like, gets that run support and then he slings the rock around. But Saskatchewan's defense is too tough. Trevor Harris is too efficient. He'll be missing one of his best receivers in let me see, in gosh, I can't remember his name all of a sudden. Sean Bain. He's out with a knee injury. He did not practice all week. He'll be out with a knee injury. So it's going to be, but I just think that Saskatchewan can do enough to control the clock against an Edmonton Elks defense that surrendered 55 points and over 500 yards last week. But it'll be a tight game. It'll be a close game. It's going to be a low scoring game, I think. But I think Saskatchewan has enough to put themselves over the top, and unfortunately eliminate the Elks, which will be the first time I think I heard this on the Two and Out CFL podcast. This will be the first time ever that an Alberta-based team will not go to the playoffs. Neither Edmonton nor Calgary. If either missed the playoffs, if both missed the playoffs, excuse me. So, yeah, I think this run, it was entertaining as heck, but I think it'll be over. It'll end this week.
Well, both Edmonton and Calgary have played very, underwhelmingly this season, and their records definitely showed that in their statistics as well. Looking at this, based on how things started out for the Roughriders at the beginning of the year, me being one, very excited for the first month or so, and over the past couple of weeks, they've really regained their mojo, especially with picking up Raquel Armstead off of the waiver line, bringing him in, adding some depth within the running game. They finally now have been able to, make up for not having, their main addition in there as their running back who's been banged up this year. So thinking about all that, if they continue to mix up the run, establish the run, get the play action passes in there, setting things up for Trevor Harris, they will get their third consecutive win. They will make the playoffs this year. And beyond that, we'll discuss once we get to closer towards the Grey Cup, contention. But right here and right now, I'm going to side with Ryan and say the Saskatchewan Roughriders are getting the dub, and I'm happy because my CFL team and my NFL team are both playing great football as of the past few weeks. So, with that being said, I'm going to side with Ryan, and we're going to take it to the postgame.
Hey, who's giving them the business?
After I click this button.
Total Football Talk Extra.
As long as it's one. That's great. I love it.
And here with the post game, this is where we give our final thoughts. Here within this episode 5 of Total Football Talk Extra, and we take it to Mr. McCarthy. Technical difficulty.
Technical difficulties are a hell of a drug. I I don't have much. I'll try to keep it short and sweet. The CFL season, we're entering the downhill slide, so to speak, in the last 4 weeks of the season, which start this week. It's been a hell of a season. It's been a hell of a season full of just twists and turns. You would have to get a Hollywood script to write the script that the CFL has had this season. We've had games where teams that shouldn't be close to winning win those games. We've had winning streaks. We've had losing streaks. We've had close games come to the final minute. We've had games go to overtime. We've had ties. We've had ties this year. It doesn't really happen that much in the CFL. But I'm going to enjoy the next 4 weeks of the season. We've got plenty of action coming up ahead. I'm excited for the playoffs to see who makes it to the playoffs. I'm excited to see who makes it to the Grey Cup this year. And as a football fan, period, I love the CFL. NFL, my Jets are absolutely dumped your Pelicans last week. Wasn't so excited about them. And with arena football, plenty of alternative football to watch out there. But the CFL, I'm going to enjoy the last 4 weeks of the season because it's been so much fun, so entertaining, and you couldn't have written a better script for this season.
Well said, my man. And I'm going to keep it a little bit shorter because, our guest, Brian, well, not our guest, but our co-host, Brian, has got another show he's got to do here soon, which is why he was called the Iron Man of podcasting from our guy, Dustin Henry, the one who is a co-host with him on No Credentials Required. And for you, the people, for this, I will turn it this way so you can see me a little bit better. Thank you for sticking with us throughout these technical difficulties. I'm about to get on the phone with Xfinity and not be a Kevin and have a conversation with them and to see what in the expletive is going on, because cable is not cheap, services are not cheap, and I want my internet. I want my internet, and most importantly, I'm just really happy to be working, alongside someone like Ryan, who is a professional, a professional, and was able to help keep this thing going while he was just literally in the middle of a raft. He was on a raft in the middle of an ocean trying to figure out how to survive. That is exactly what was happening because he had no buttons to click. He was basically making it work, and he did a great job. I've had to do it with other people being guests or co-hosts on their program before when they've disappeared due to internet difficulties. And it's great to see that other people, have the same mindset, the same drive to still make it work. And there were like 3 instances during this hour-and-a-half show where he had to step in and kind of fill the gap, and it did a great job as always. So shout out to him. Shout out to the people like Sick Diggy, my guy Dante. Those of you out there who love football, who are tuning into this CFL show, like Ryan, I'm looking forward to the 3 games that we have tonight in the final month of the season as we get ready to go towards the playoffs. We really only have 6 weeks left of CFL, and then we get into the holidays, and then we have the NFL playoffs shortly around the corner. So this is a really exciting time if you are a fan of professional football. The end of the CFL season is near. We're 1 month into the NFL season. There are some teams in the NFL that you didn't think, even the Commies, who are doing great. And I look forward to covering that on Commander's Gridiron Report. Maybe not in the next 15 minutes like I had planned, but at some point tonight, hopefully, if the internet comes back. With that being said, let's bring our guy Ryan back up here one last time as we get ready to sign on out and take this thing home. But the post game, as we always say, like in life. Well, I'm gonna try to do what my man Cole Johnson, or our man Cole Johnson, does come on, Cole. What are you saying?
The morning shift?
No. Oh. When it comes to life, like football, keep your head up. And always remember to keep going until the whistle blows. And like myself says with a half dab right there, as always, please, on behalf of myself and Brian McCarthy, stay safe out here in these streets.